Hey guys, it's Ayla Melendez, aka Real Estate, and I'm your host of the Chronicles REI edition. Today we're here for episode 6 with Chris De La Garza, aka Chris DLG, and he works with Capital Title. Introduce yourself.
Hello. So how you guys doing today? Chris De La Garza. I'm a title guy. Like anything and everything having to do with real estate. So, I'm sure we'll get into it, but I've done a little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing. No, I'm kidding. But I have been around for the industry a little while, and I like to help people, and that's why we're here today.
Very true. Thank you. Now, the first thing I always want to know is, who are you as a person outside of real estate?
So I am a family man. I've got 3 kiddos, ranging from my youngest is 8 to my oldest is 25. Super proud of all my kids. I'm a husband. I've been married, 16 years, happily married. That's a big triumph in my book as well. Trying to follow in my parents' footsteps. And I'm a person that truly sees value and treating people how they should be treated, and not just for what they represent. So, truly like to get into what makes somebody tick and how I can positively impact their life.
And untick it.
There you go.
Now, everyone seems to know you in the real estate industry. You literally are the title guy. So how did you grow such a strong name recognition in San Antonio?
I cheated. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to believe that.
I've been licensed as a real estate agent myself for over 23 years.
Wow.
So that's where I lied. That's not where I first got started in real estate. I first got started in real estate flipping houses because, back then I wanted to be a real estate investor first and foremost. So I started through the School of Hard Knocks. I started buying foreclosures. I started buying short sales, and this was back before it was popular. This was in the late 90s.
Wow.
I was very young at that time. I was 18, 19 years old. Started learned a lot through the School of Hard Knocks, and truly felt that I wanted to reduce my overhead. So I got licensed as a real estate agent at the age of 21. And, continued pushing, eventually became a broker, still was doing the flipping, then I was selling houses, and then that led into opening my own brokerage. I got up to, at one point, 36 agents, give or take, and just kept going with it. And then I've gone into, obviously, owning construction companies and getting into, how to do development, a little bit of all that. And just, I never slowed down. And it wasn't until recently, actually, during the pandemic, when things got a little scary there for a minute, and I actually took several months off, where I decided that I wanted to dip my toe into title, and actually opened up a notary closing business. Now, I know a lot of you guys know about this because y'all were all like, how do we make some side hustle cash? So I wasn't any different. I looked into it, and I got licensed as a notary signing agent, and went through all that. Just due to my experience as a real estate agent, it was very easy for me to get through that process. So I started doing that, and as the pandemic got scarier and scarier, the demand grew exponentially for needing to do more closings. So I went from a solo notary signing agent to, at my peak, I think I had 3 or 4 notary agents underneath me, and I was doing 120 to 150 closings a month. So I got real comfortable real fast, aside from my real estate business, on how the title business worked, and asked lots of questions and saw a lot of the good, bad, and the ugly. And then as things kind of slowed down, Capital Title, which is one of the title companies that I was doing most of my business for at the time, had gone through some transitions and reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in coming on board for us and in a official capacity as kind of like a backup, and or maybe do some business development for us? And that's actually how I got into Capital Title. So I've been there probably going on just about a year and a half. So that's the newest part of my real estate endeavors. I have not been doing that forever.
Okay.
But I know a lot of people in the industry just because I've been in some facet at some point throughout my whole career.
And then you've been through so many transactions. So title company was like, might as well do it.
Right. And just might as well. I mean, who knows? I might get into the mortgage next, but, and make it a full spectrum circle. But
So you started being an investor, then a real estate agent, and then you were a notary. Okay.
And don't forget, I did construction in the mix of that too.
My goodness. So how have all of those different fields helped you with what you currently do at the title company?
Well, the best part about it, what I truly enjoy is I like helping people. So, what I do on a day-to-day, I like to meet with agents that I don't know, and I like to look at their business and be like, how can I help you? How can I scale your business? If you're struggling to get leads, how can I show you how to do something a little bit different? If they don't have a business model, or they're having issues with losing clients, or whatever it may be, whatever capacity they're having an issue with, that's where I try to plug in and show them some of the things that maybe I've done in the past that might possibly tweak what they're doing or add to.
Yeah, that's good to always lead with value. It makes people want to open up more. And then also, I'm sure you get a lot of partnerships out of that too.
Yeah, not so. I'm working on a couple of things, but I like to not commingle too much. I truly want to do a value add, because at the end of the day, it's like, there's no better feeling to know you're genuinely helping somebody. And I feel like in this capacity, it's probably one of the first times in my life, like I can truly help people without having an alternative motive.
Got it. I love that. You did say that you offer, or actually you meet with a lot of realtors or meet with a lot of new ones. So what are some of the common problems that you see a lot of realtors are facing?
They don't like to talk to their friends and family.
What?
You laugh. It's funny. So, I did an interview not too long ago. I interviewed a gentleman that, this guy's doing $20 million a year. And for his first 6 months, he had trouble himself. He's extremely successful prior to being a realtor. But because, and I hate to say this, we're all like this, very judgmental, your friends and family, because they know you, they've seen you drunk throwing up on the side of the road. They've seen you not get out of bed on time. They've seen you been late. They love you. They respect you, but they don't respect the fact that you haven't done it yet, if that makes sense. So I know a lot of realtors feel this way, whether you're making, $500,000 a year or you're struggling to get your first deal. Not only are you so hard on yourself and judgmental on yourself, your friends and family are probably the worst, I have to say. And albeit they want to see you succeed, they don't want to risk the most expensive purchase in their lifetime to somebody that's just started. They don't realize that most of us have a phenomenal support system with people that have done this 1,000 times. They just look at you and they're like, and they have trouble. Building that rapport. So I've come up with a couple of mechanisms to help overcome that. And of course, those are part of my tricks that you got to call me on. But that's the biggest issue is working your database, and it gets a negative allure with the fact that it gets thrown in with the fact that, calling my friends and family and that being annoying. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to talk to perfect strangers. And it's like, I get it.
Yeah.
But yes, that's a harder close. So with that being said, I try to blend the fact that you can do both and do it successfully if you just tweak a couple of things.
I agree. And then also, I'm a strong believer in people do business with people that they like, know, and trust. So going to a stranger, it's like, at the end of the day, I feel like every single person, whether you're in the industry or not, at least 3 realtors personally.
Absolutely.
Like, everyone is licensed. Even someone that works a full-time 9 to 5, they're like, oh, I have my license. So we always know someone that's licensed. It's just that, they know my past. They know I messed up a lot. They don't want to trust me with their house. So I completely can relate with that.
Funny side story. Yesterday, I got called off LinkedIn, off somebody that tried to recruit me away to another title company that wants to become a realtor underneath me.
Wow.
So, yes, you will be blown away at how many realtors there are out there.
Oh, man.
And I'm not going to mention any names, so she's going to be successful.
Hey, I trust it. If you trust it, I trust it. Are you going to help her still?
Absolutely. I'm going to mention her.
That's great. I'm glad you took that. Do you think that real estate is more relationship based more than anything else?
Absolutely. Everything having to do with service in any industry is relationship based, because of the fact you're doing business with a person. In any service industry, you're not doing business with a brand. We all fall in love with the brand and we have recognition with a brand, but you do business with a person, not the company. And I fully believe that. I've had so many different experiences with that over the course of my career. And I've been with some phenomenal brands, but at the end of the day, it's a people business.
I agree. So whenever someone is starting out in real estate, do you think the most important thing for them to do is to brand themselves?
It's the hardest thing to do, but yes, because of the fact it's the most expensive thing to do. I remember as a new agent, I heard that over and over and over again. And of course, when you're a new agent, you know everything. I was 21 years old and I got approached over and over again, whether it was from magazine ads or, at the time, gosh, this was in 2000. So Facebook wasn't quite where it's at now, obviously. Google was there, Google AdWords and stuff like that. And I was contemplating back and forth. And at the time I had a business partner. We were running a group already. And we were back and forth. Do I do something like Zillow? Or do I put together a magazine ad and do branding, or a website and do big time branding? And unfortunately, I picked Zillow. I'd had some success with it, but looking back with some of the other colleagues that were in the time, and again, I'm not going to mention any names because I want to keep everybody's privacy respectfully. But I have several colleagues that went the other route and they're still in business today. And I'm just amazed where I've been in a luxury group specifically setting, and I can watch these agents that get 10, 15 phone calls a month, and people are literally calling them and asking them to list their house versus, unfortunately the industry's littered with, hey, let me get you leads, and you've got to call, email, text, and you're chasing leads. Whereas these agents, they're literally order taking because they've done it correctly.
I love that.
Brand.
And with the way that technology is today, what do you think are some of the best ways for like a new agent to start branding themselves?
The least expensive way that I recommend is doing small mixers and events, being intentional about who you partner with. Whether it's a mixer, one of the things I like to do in the title business, I'll link myself up with another mortgage person or an inspector or somebody that's in surveys or something like that. And all three of us will get together and I'll say, hey, invite two agents that I don't know and nobody else knows. And we literally go hang out somewhere where everybody can have a good time and just get to know each other. So you can do the same thing with agents in an atmosphere where you're either working your database, your past clients, and so on and so forth with your power groups, i.e. your mortgage company and or your inspector companies, and y'all just go hang out and you create mixers and you go being intentional about things that you enjoy doing. And as you get better at that, you can expand that group and create things where either you're bicycling, you're working out, you're playing cards, you're just having a drink or a cigar or whatever it is that you like to do. And before you know it, you start giving items of value organically, and that just spreads and spreads and spreads. And it's very inexpensive to do because it's things you'd be doing normally, and now you're doing it organically and truly giving back.
I agree. Anytime you become a regular somewhere, it's the most organic way to build a new relationship, even if it's just the waiter, the bartender, or someone that goes those same days at that same time. You see it at the gym all the time too.
I love that. Yes, I have a couple of realtors that are gym rats, and that's one of their best lead sources.
And hey, that makes sense, especially at the gym. So many people market themselves on their t-shirt these days.
Yes.
And everyone has about 5 hustles. So that person at the gym might be like a realtor and a personal trainer. So
Yep.
There's a way that you can do business to get a client too. I support yours.
If you're broke, just go buy a couple t-shirts that say "Got House." People will come up to you, I promise.
Right? It has to be so simple. It doesn't have to be catchy, nothing. Anything real estate related, they know you're in real estate. Super simple. Now, if you were a new realtor, who would be your key first relationship that you would establish?
A coach.
A coach? And why a coach?
I would do a coach because they've already had the success. They've already been through the gamut. They've had the ups. They've had the downs. They're gonna help me through all my trials and tribulations. And I have the famous saying to all my realtors that they've heard me say this a million times. It's all about how fast you can fail. Because the faster you fail, the quicker you succeed. And everybody fails in this lifetime. If anybody says they don't, they're lying. Because I don't care if you're a billionaire or a millionaire or you're just getting started, everybody's going to learn more from failure than they are for success. And nobody bats at 100%. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how fast do I want to get this failure out of the way so I can get to the good stuff?
I love that.
So it's all about failing forward.
And I know previously we had a conversation and you were like, oh, a what not to do. Because honestly, that's equally as important as someone teaching you what to do. Someone's not always going to tell you A through Z, but A through Z is also going to come with a whole bunch of hiccups that you weren't even prepared for.
Right.
So do you have any...
You're going to put me on the spot, aren't you?
I want to hear some what not to do's and reasons why not to do it, because that's equally as important.
So one of my questions I get asked a lot, because I did do it, is becoming a broker. It's very sexy. It's very alluring. Everybody wants to be the boss. Everybody wants to make, $1 billion now. Million's not enough. And I did do it, and I had success with it, and I had a lot of failure with it. And I get asked this a lot of, hey, should I get my broker's license? I love the knowledge aspect of getting your broker's license because you do learn a lot. But I always challenge somebody first, if you haven't run a group first, because it's just like being a broker, it's just on a smaller scale. Because if you can't run a group, guess what? You're not going to be able to run a brokerage. And the liability is 10x when you become a broker. I'm not a fan of it due to the fact that the way the logistics and financials work that I've experienced and as well as viewed over the years, it's very hard to run a successful brokerage unless you take it to what I would call almost like a medium size. And medium size would be 100 agents or more. A boutique is really even considered 100 agents these days. And the big box brokers, the agents that have thousands and thousands, the reason they are able to be successful is because of the fact that they've got so much diversity in how many agents they have. I'm not saying it's impossible to be profitable under 100 agents. I'm just saying it's less likely to be profitable under 100 agents, and it's very difficult to do. As I've interviewed myself and mentored and coached and been part of brokerages that are smaller, it's very difficult because the grass is always greener on the other side. And the biggest issue that brokers have that are under 100 agents is there's constantly agents leaving.
A high turnover rate.
High turnover rate. And when they learn it all and they're successful, why are they going to stay?
Exactly.
There's multiple reasons why agents stay. One is if they're being given leads. Two is if they have a ridiculous split that makes them not want to stay. Let's be honest. There's a lot of brokerages out there, and I'm not allowed to talk about splits specific, but that offer splits that are very conducive for them. But if it's very conducive for the agent, then it's not profitable for the brokerage. And if the brokerage isn't profitable, well, then why does it exist? So there's got to be a reason for it to be a win-win situation for both the broker and the agent. And that's the hard part is the agents don't see it that way. So if it doesn't make sense for both, then you don't have a productive model.
So what are some ways that you've been able to maneuver it being a win-win for agent and broker?
Again, I don't want to mention any specific companies, but specifically, as long as the broker's making money and the agent's making money and the agent's still learning or being in a position where they feel like they're moving forward, obviously it's going to be a win-win. And that's very difficult to do. There are several different models out there where they get a piece of ownership or they get a piece of the profitability or they feel like they truly have skin in the game. Anytime you've got skin in the game, what I call on both sides of the transaction for both broker and agent, then it's conducive and there's a reason to stay. Where it's what I call the old school model where the broker is making majority of the money and the agent is only getting what the agent's putting in, then unfortunately that's going to hit a dead end at some point if you have a bunch of agents that are wanting to move forward, because then they want to open their own brokerage. And that's the hard part. You don't want success to be the reason why you leave. You want success to be the reason why you stay.
Yeah.
And that's where I think there's an imbalance in a lot of the business models out there.
That's a perfect way to put it. Now, moving into the market, I know you love this question because you hear it all the time. Where do you see the market moving within the next 2 years?
It's going forward some way. The question is, in what way is it going forward? Because everybody's got to have a place to live. You said 2 years. I don't think a whole lot's going to change in the next 2 years. I think we're going to go through some scary times. Obviously we're in the peak season right now. We are seeing an uptick in the number of transactions. That's the nice part. It's crazy. If you listen to the media, it's all doom and gloom. And that's what's frustrating, because the average consumer looks at the media as a source of knowledge, and it's supposed to be a source of data. And unfortunately, I think it's very influential in the fact of whatever narrative that they're wanting to push. I'm not one of these guys that is, into, alternative, manipulation and this and that. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, if you want to get real data, you got to do your own homework. And with that being said, I personally think that we're going to be in a seller's market for the indefinite future. It's going to look very different in every market, i.e. San Antonio is a very conservative market. And I don't see us ever hitting a wall. I see us maybe coming down on prices a little bit, especially in the higher price points, the luxury. But if you have a fantastic home, if you're selling it's a house, and if you've taken care of it and it's priced properly, it's going to fly off the market. And I see that not changing for the next 2 years. No matter how bad interest rates get, there's always going to be a demand of somebody needing to buy a house. What I think ultimately is going to happen is we're going to continue to have a supply issue, because they don't make more land unless you've got a different God than I do. I'm not aware of anywhere where, we're eventually going to run out of land. Now, granted, Texas does still have a fair amount of land, and we're one of the few states that has a fair amount of undeveloped areas still. But there is going to be diminishing first-time home buyers, and I think that number is going to continue to increase, because they're going to completely be priced out of the market. I think prices are going to continue to increase, and depending on what happens with our economics and our wonderful political season that we're getting ready to go into, obviously that affects the interest rates. I do see the interest rates, if they continue to climb, I do continue to see that we will back off of those first-time home buyers, and that's the part we're going to see that's going to crumble. And you had to ask me 10 years from now, I think we're 10, by maybe 15, I think we're going to become a rental economy versus a purchase economy. And I think all the people with all the money are going to be the ones that own all the houses. And you can quote me on that one.
We're going to come back in 2 years to see.
15.
Okay, 15. I've been hearing actually a lot of people speak about getting into mobile home investing. Do you know, or have you been doing many transactions regarding that?
So mobile home investing is not anything new. It is getting some traction in I should say in podcasts and stuff like this for the first time. I actually first heard about it myself about 15 years ago. And it's gotten more popular due to gurus selling classes on how to turn $1 into 15 overnight. So with that being said, I do see traction, along with mobile homes. Obviously, you got tiny homes is picking up traction as well, which I think is really cool. I'm more of a fan of tiny homes than over mobile homes.
And the container homes too.
The container homes, let's take a trash can and turn it into a luxury home. Why not,
Flipping everything these days.
Obviously, Oscar the Grouch had something, he figured out, for those of you that are as old as me. But there's some good and there's some bad. Obviously, the good is it's very cost effective. The bad is the fact that you don't want to call a house something with wheels. There's a lot of liability in that from the title side, obviously, and from the underwriting side for lenders. So there's a lot more red tape. But there's a lot of ways to making money and make it work. And of course, you can take those wheels off and put a permanent foundation in it. So I've had some experience in it. I have seen an uptick in it. But again, I think it's due to the gurus. I do think that it's going to probably gain more traction. But I'm more of a fan of a tiny home versus something that has wheels.
Got it. Well, what are you seeing that would be like the next big thing in real estate?
Ooh, the next big thing.
What's upcoming that not really talked about?
So one thing that I've personally been working behind closed doors on, and I've always had a kind of a secret passion over, is I think private financing is going to get more ground. if we continue to have issues with rates and we continue to have regulations where people get priced out of the market.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's been happening for a long time, especially in commercial, but I see private financing becoming a real niche where you have large groups of funds that are put together, whether it's crowd financing or you're just private high net worth individuals that pool their money together and start offering financing options for the average consumer. I myself have done a fair amount of it over the last 15 years in what everybody's known as owner financing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to gain more and more traction, specifically if we have more issues in the financial world of rates getting completely out of control and or having too much regulations. I think more and more individuals are going to look at the fact that if they can get a 7 to 8% return on their money and it's collateralized, I think a lot of investors are going to start moving into that space. So that's one thing that I'm actually working on with some private individuals and private groups. Obviously it's very attractive in the commercial space, but I see it getting more so into the residential space.
I love owner financing just because I feel like it's a more helpful avenue of being a real estate investor because you're helping less qualified people, as well as comps are not as crucial because, you become the bank, you kind of make up your own numbers.
Sure. And that's just it. It's a win-win situation for both the investor and the consumer.
I agree. Regarding artificial intelligence.
Uh-oh.
I know you use this with your marketing.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you think that that's becoming more popular for people to use like in the real estate business or anything with just real estate investing?
So yes, I am myself doing classes on ChatGPT and some of its competitors. I do use it myself. It's fantastic. I'm in the process of eventually implementing complete AI automated video campaigns is what I'm going to start working on next because there's so many real estate agents that are afraid to be in front of the camera. Yeah. So I've been working on a concept of, well, what do we just make it somebody that looks like you and talks like you? We kind of take you out of the picture and see if we can create a campaign. So I am trying to dive deeper in that and figure out how it's affordable and scalable. Mm-hmm. As a real estate agent, I think it's going to become commonplace, especially for the mundane things of anything from putting together email campaigns to, writing ad copy for your social media posts, and eventually, obviously trying to come up with those great ideas for those videos. Mm-hmm. So on the day-to-day operations, I see it becoming very commonplace. It's gaining a lot of traction. I have a buddy who owns a hedge fund where he's constantly now being challenged and or interviewed on a lot of the software coming out on AI, of replacing the actual trader and having AI take over that spot, which is a little scary for him, due to the fact that, of course, AI can obviously manipulate data at a much faster pace. So he's experiencing that. Same thing, across the board in multiple industries. But in real estate specifically, I see it as being as common as your CRM here in the next 2 years. It's just there's not enough agents that are aware of it, but mm-hmm. I see that changing at a rapid clip.
What are some of the professions that you think AI is going to take over, whether it be like transaction coordinator, realtor?
Obviously, marketing is a big part of it that I'm concerned about. Obviously, it's fantastic, for coming up with ideas, but it does lose the human touch. So I don't think it'll be completely replaced in any industry because you have to have that human factor for it to have direction and to have understanding. But I do see it substantially affecting, obviously even the title industry, the mortgage industry, legal attorneys are, a little concerned as well, just because of the fact so much of that is data driven.
Very true.
I see every industry really being affected by it. I don't think it's going to take over anything in its entirety. It's impossible. You're always going to have a human interface, due to the fact that at the end of the day, just like how we started this interview, you do business with people and relationships because of who they are, not just what they represent.
Yes, I agree. because there's still people that are very old school. So at the end of the day, they want to talk to a person. They want to shake someone's hand. They want to meet someone.
I
So,
like paper.
so you're the type to print out the contract. I will bring it to your house.
Absolutely. I want to feel that paper. I want to feel that paper check.
The wet ink.
The wet ink. I'm old school. Sorry.
I'm old school with a lot of things too. So technology, I'm a little slower with grasping a lot of things going on now.
Yeah.
We're in the same boat with that.
There you go.
How far do you think it's going to be in 10 years?
Ooh, that's scary.
Right?
You listen to some of our experts. You listen to Elon, and of course he thinks, we're going to be in the Will Smith movie and being attacked by robots. If we're not careful, which I hope that's really far-fetched, because I don't want to be fighting robots in 10 years.
So far we have the vacuums, the little Roomba.
Yeah, that'd be scary if the Roomba came after me with a gun, or try. Yeah, but no, I think there's some legitimacy there. Obviously I'm not a super techie nerd. I am into tech to a point where I understand a lot of the concerns. I've listened to a couple of the case studies on some of the stuff where they're concerned that the intelligence factor of the learning capability, it is scary, and stupid part about it is we created it. But we need more more parameters in place. We need more legitimate laws in place where it protects us, for our own good, so to speak. In 10 years, there's no telling, how much. I do think the real estate industry in the next 5 to 10 years is going to look completely different from what it looks like today, infrastructure-wise, the way we do business. Everything from case law of, being class action lawsuits against, the National Association of Realtors of whether or not we should have buyer agency, whether or not AI is going to take the place of title companies and mortgage companies and a lot of this other stuff, and the fact that, we're going to have full-blown desktop underwriting. There are so many facets and variables in the real estate industry. I don't think it can stay the same, because it did stay the same for a long period of time. We have not evolved that much in the last 30 years, to be honest with you. But I do see the next 10 to 15 changing at a substantial clip, and I do think it will look very different 15 years from now.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever expect it to be so unthinkable when you were younger?
What do you mean?
Regarding technology? Like, did you ever foresee anything being this advanced?
That's a loaded question, because as a kid, we have a fantastic imagination. Honestly, I thought we were already going to have flying cars and we were all going to be zooming around like the Jetsons. I love the Jetsons.
I was ready for that. And I was like, man, I'm already an adult. I missed that era. I don't know.
Yeah. So I will say the one thing as a kid, I always wanted to be able to watch TV in my hand. Mm-hmm. We got that. Granted, I didn't think it was going to be a cell phone I was watching it on. That was a little weird. The cell phone does more than I think it should. I wish that a cell phone was still just a cell phone. Mm-hmm. This whole craziness again with Elon and putting microchips in our brains and our hands, and we become a UPC code, and all that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah. It makes me not even want to buy things online, because I'm like, if I put my credit card on this one thing, I'm so paranoid.
Well, now you're that thing, and they know what you bought, and they know what you like.
And then you see an ad for it tomorrow on a whole different website.
Yeah, the whole eavesdropping thing has become a little obsessive of what big companies are doing these days. But I just as a kid, I really thought that we would have the flying cars and we'd be living in the sky. And again, I know it's a lot based off the Jetsons, but we have evolved, but I honestly thought we were going to be further along. So a couple of the things have come true. But I would say, there's some good and there's some bad to that. But at the end of the day, it just depends on what truly makes us happy at the end of the day and what's making us money. And I think the money part has taken over too much.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Well, wrapping it up with real estate, I wanted to ask you one of my favorite questions too. So if you were to talk to 80-year-old Chris, what would you tell 80-year-old Chris?
See, I'm used to that question being asked of what would you tell, 10-year-old Chris? You went the other way.
Well, we want to know both ways. So reverse it.
All right. Well, 80-year-old Chris, I would say, hey, hopefully you figured it out, and hopefully you're not wanting anymore, and you're truly happy with what you've accomplished, because it gets tiring just chasing. Everybody talks about their dreams, but when you're truly always chasing your dreams, you find yourself exhausted all the time. So albeit it's a good thing to chase your dreams, for us true entrepreneurs, we know how it can kind of burn you out. I would say hopefully you don't feel like there's any regret, and that you've truly lived your life to its fullest capability. And I don't have a problem swinging for the fence, but I did a lot of that early on. And if you're constantly, like I said, swinging for the fence, you lose sight of the fact that a lot of times the most valuable things are right in front of you. So I'm a big family guy. I've slowed down intentionally to spend more time with my family. And with that being said, hopefully by the time I'm 80, I hope I'm surrounded by tons and tons of grandkids, because I see what my father's been able to accomplish, and I just live to try to walk in his same footsteps.
I love that.
As far as talking to the 10-year-old, well, that's easy. Keep swinging. It's going to be painful.
Keep going.
But keep going. I don't regret anything that I've done, and I've learned a lot from my failures, again, as I've mentioned before. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be a fun ride.
What would 80-year-old Chris tell you today?
Man, you're getting complicated, girl. What would the 80-year-old tell me? I don't know what the 80-year-old's going to tell me. I haven't gotten there yet.
Get some rest. He's going to say, get some rest. We got to look good at 80.
Don't forget to spend some time in the hammock.
There you go. Now, if people want to get your help and your mentorship, how would they get a hold of you?
All right. Well, you guys are seeing me more and more on social media. Of course, you got my YouTube channel, Title Talks. Just got that going. I'm picking up steam. I'm putting more videos out at least once a week, trying to get more frequent. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram, all those. It's just Chris, capital Title. And of course, you can reach me telephone if you still use those. 210-837-9718. But I'm constantly doing classes. I'm constantly out doing networking events, but hit me up on any of those aspects. And of course, you catch me in the class, just pull me aside. I'd love to talk to you guys. Want to meet all of y'all.
Love it. Well, it was a pleasure to have you here today. Again, I'm Ayla Melendez, aka R.E.I. Estate. This is Chris De La Garza. And thank you so much for joining us on the Chronicles.
Appreciate it.